Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy Podcast. I'm Ani Anderson.
And I'm Brian Trzaskos. Join us as we explore the science
and art of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools.
Strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional.
Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence.
If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started.
Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy Podcast. We are on episode 87. Hi there, Brian.
Hey, Ani.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Good. What are we talking about today?
Oh, wow, gosh. So today we just got back from Kripalu recently. And I know we've been talking about it a lot on the podcast. And if you've been reading the newsletters, we've been talking about was the run-up to the Somatic Practice Essentials or Core Centering Practitioner Training that we were hosting at the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health. And we just got back from that. And it was such an amazing experience that I thought we would just take a podcast to chat about that a little bit and some of our key takeaways and experiences and things that happen inside of those Kripalu programs that are so just so amazing, because some of the stuff that happened that was amazing, it was actually planned, and other stuff was just the universe just bringing goodness in a lot of ways. So I just thought we'd chat about that.
Oh, that would be great. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Can I start with one of my key takeaways?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, great. The chocolate peanut butter brownies at Kripalu, right? I mean, they're like magic, and it's no joke. We spent tons of time at the training talking about the food at Kripalu because Kripalu's food is awesome. I think it's a really important thing to say, right?
It is. I didn't think you were going to start with that, but I totally understand why you did.
Okay.
So it's great.
All right. So inside of Kripalu, it was like day 3 and it was dinner time, and they don't have dessert at every meal. So they brought out these chocolate peanut butter brownies, and all of us were actually looking forward to the actual brownies they were serving at the next dinner, I think. But they bring out these chocolate peanut butter bars. That's what they were. Yeah. And they were off the charts. And so we're at the table, we're sharing the chocolate peanut butter bars, and we realize it's almost the end of dinner and there's no more out. So we actually went and like asked, are there more peanut butter bars? It was so delightful. And I think it's funny, but it also just gives a really good glimpse into the Kripalu experience, because Kripalu is awesome. The lodging is amazing. The food is great. And knowing that you're coming, I mean, some people are traveling really far way to come, and knowing that you're really going to be taken care of is very important. And then it's just like, a snapshot of what it was like to be there, because we had so much fun. It was such a delightful experience. And, I'm going to pat us on the back here for a second and say our retreats are a lot of fun. Every time we have lots of laughter, we have lots of community sharing, and we were just enjoying meals together and laughing together, and the peanut butter bars were just a part of that.
Yeah, a big part of that. Well, that was one of my big takeaways too, is I can't remember a time where I've laughed so much, so many days in a row, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of laughter,
joyful,
a lot of joyfulness in so many levels. But maybe let's just back up a little.
Okay. I threw one with peanut butter bars.
And so, first of all, I kind of want to think about who even came there. Let's kind of talk about who joined us for this training. And, it's cool because there were people who joined us for the Core Centering Practitioner Training who were already teaching things like Qigong and Tai Chi and yoga and Pilates, and there were business owners there. And we had 2 educators, higher ed educators
teachers
that were looking for tools to be able to bring home to their student teachers for self-care, and potentially even to bring into the classroom as well to help students be more regulated with the learning and those sorts of things. And that was super fun. I had a lot of fun with them talking about curriculum and lesson planning, and that's kind of something I'm really into too. So that was really a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
We had some
We had
people, yeah,
coaches,
we had
we
coaches
had
that were there.
experienced coaches and new coaches. We had people who are already members of our community. We had people who had heard about us, but
Mhm.
who hadn't joined us for anything yet. And then we had people who were brand new to us.
Yeah.
We had people who were brand new to Kripalu and people who were seasoned who had come to Kripalu over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great mixed group of people,
Yeah.
and we do this great ice breaking exercise on the first night, and it's kind of themed around the idea that we already know each other,
Yeah.
and we kind of come at it from being long lost friends, and it really kind of sets up the idea that we all already have a connection
Right away.
right away.
Yeah. So it doesn't take 3 days to get into some kind of rhythm of knowing each other. It just kind of sets it off right away.
Yeah, and it's a really joyful way to go about doing it too. So it was a lot of fun. And so we all kind of got together really quick. And of course, with the daily schedule that we kind of laid out of the learning, right? So
It was so well done
yeah,
this time to have just the right mix of morning practice, of learning, of experiential learning, of breaks,
yep.
of food and digestion time and free time. It was a fantastic mix.
Yeah, yeah. So we start every morning with a morning core centering practice that's kind of laid out, it's organized, and you led a morning and did kind of a practice how it feels great for you to
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we had our assistant lead a morning practice, and so our assistant is a graduate of our all of
All of
our
the
certification
certifications. Yeah.
programs, and he's assisted with us last year at Kripalu as well. And he tells his story of course centering,
That was really
and so
fun.
it's a lot of fun.
The students
So
love that.
really love that and can kind of see possibilities for themselves. So Nathan got to lead a morning, and then you both tag
We
teamed a morning
we
also.
co-taught a morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so the morning practices are really, we plan them around the curriculum to help integrate the work as we go along,
Right.
which is really great.
Yeah, and the morning practices were more led so that the students for this program could kind of learn along the way as they're learning the core centering curriculum because we're doing core centering in the morning practice. But we always, no matter what program we do, when we do
Yeah.
morning practice, are looking at how the morning practice dovetails what students are learning. I think most of the time when we do morning practice because we do morning practice for all kinds of retreats and stuff that
Yep.
we lead, I think most of the time it's not mandatory, but it's strongly recommended. But I gotta tell you, I mean, if you're attending anything that we do, come to the morning practices because not only are they awesome and you're gonna learn a lot and you're gonna feel really good, but we actually organize them such that
Yes.
they really go with the learning. You're gonna get more out of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we plan it. It's not just a random thing we're doing to help
It's
people
blown
like
out.
relax or set up their day. It's
Yeah.
actually interwoven with all of the teaching that we're doing. It's a part of a part of a retreat process.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then at Kripalu, it's a silent breakfast.
Right.
So some people really enjoy that. Of course, being on the teaching team, we usually
Oh, and the faculty.
get on the same page together in the
Yeah.
faculty room in the morning, and we actually get to then meet other faculty that are teaching and presenting at Kripalu at the same time, which we can come back to talk about now or talk about later. But that was a really fantastic
Yeah, I
experience.
think that was a bit of the universe providing us some magic at Kripalu this
Yeah.
time to be able to connect with the faculty at
Yeah,
Kripalu.
yeah, with Reggie Hubbard,
Yeah.
especially. So Reggie was at Kripalu leading a retreat for men of color, and we had some really deep conversations with Reggie. And one of the kind of auspicious, universally ordained kind of things that happened was that Reggie is an aficionado of gongs, and so
He's a gong
is a
master.
gong master, and so he brought with him for
Like
his retreat like 17 gongs or something like that.
bowls.
Yeah.
He had instruments wise like 30 things that he
Yeah,
brought with
yeah.
him.
So he was using that actively as a part of his retreat. And one of the things that happens at Kripalu is they do samplers in the evening. And on one of the evenings we were there, Reggie led the sampler in the Great Hall and did a gong bath. And there were like 80 people
Yeah.
in the hall. And that experience of being a part of that gong bath was just
It was profound. And
amazing.
since we had been getting to know Reggie all week, we decided that we would ask the class, you want to go on a field trip on Wednesday and go do the gong bath together. It was so much fun. I got to tell you, it was kind of like being at a rock concert,
Yeah, it was.
right? So we stood there, 45 minutes before so that we could all be as close as humanly possible to the gongs. And then we stood there and chatted and waited for them to open the doors. And they opened the doors and we flood in and we got in the second row because the first row, of course, was set up for his student.
Yeah.
So we were in a row along the second row waiting for the gongs. I was so excited to watch the show, but I only saw about, 3 minutes of it before I went
Where
out.
you just
And
melted in
yeah, I
Gongland.
wasn't asleep. I could tell you about the experience. It was profound, but I couldn't watch because I was like in a state. It was the bomb.
Yeah. So you know why I thought it was so universally ordained that we had that experience with the gong bath, is because on the our intention for this time at Kripalu
Yeah,
was talking about deep reset, right? A
absolutely.
nervous system reset.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the way that we organized, again, our morning practices, our
Yep.
learnings, our breakouts, the meals, like all the things that we were kind of bringing
The
into
break,
this was this
everything.
idea of around a reset, a deep
Yes.
nervous system reset. And it turned out that a lot of those morning conversations we had with Reggie
Yep.
were about his program also being about deep rest.
Yes. Yes.
And so we really were like, wow, there's obviously a need for this, is obviously some type of, it's in the air that this is really, really important.
Really
And
important.
so for our field trip, our students to be able to kind of also take part in that process, just further deepened and soaked in.
And being a
Yeah.
participant, like all of us being able to receive deep rest. Like
Yeah.
that reception. Actually, do
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
remember that receiving was actually a part of some of our students'
Intentions.
intentions when they came, because we ask people what they want to get out of it. That
Yes.
was
Yes.
actually some of our students' intentions was about receiving, and the gong bath was a real example of that because it is so receptive,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe just one more bit about why I thought the gongs were so profound is they went below the level of language to a resonant frequency, a vibrational frequency in my body that you need the gong for. Like I can do a lot of really great stuff, but it was like getting me on this, what word? Primordial, like primordial below language reset of the vibrational frequency that was different than I'd been to lots of other sound bath kinds of opportunities with a lot of different instruments and crystals and bowls and things like that. But the gongs were really, really special for that.
Yeah. And I think the way that we are kind of having this conversation again with Reggie, said gongs are somatic.
Yeah.
They're really they
Mindful,
really get you in your body
right? Present.
versus other instruments which are actually more kind of more spiritual. They actually kind of take you out of your
Oh,
body.
yeah, you can
But
have
gongs
visions
really
and
bring
things
you
like that.
into your body.
Very present.
Yeah. Anyway, not to belabor that whole experience
It was
because
pretty cool.
it's my intention that hopefully we can actually invite
Yeah,
Reggie here onto the podcast to
talk
have a
more about it.
conversation with him about that because that was just really, really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what else happened at Kripalu? So one of the other things that I just want to kind of know is that when we do these things in person, because we've talked about this a lot, after COVID, it kind of like virtual things started happening, virtual meetings, and which, by the way, there's a good side for those things because then we can meet with people all over the world simultaneously,
Sure.
of course, different time zones,
Yep.
but it has enhanced connectivity and information sharing, like for sure. So let's just say that. And on the other hand, I still always need to be reminded that there's not a substitute for being in person. There's just not. In that when we do these programs in person at again at places like Apollo or other retreat centers that we work with, the transformations, the deep awarenesses that happen for people almost immediately, because
Yeah, you can feel it when you
yeah,
arrive on campus.
remember we had a meeting with our our current students at the time
Yeah.
that were returning to Kripalu again.
Right.
And we did a little intention setting, if you remember. And we kind of shared with that group kind of what the trajectory of an arc of transformation looks like at or during a retreat experience. And we said, just to let you know, this is how it looks. And at a certain point in time, people are going to start to have kind of like little breakthrough awarenesses or big breakthrough awarenesses.
Right.
And we're like, typically it happens around day 3 sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we had people day 1 start to have these really starting to have breakthroughs because of the way we run the process,
Yep.
the way we set the container for the process, the way we set it up. And it's really amazing, even with these very simple to do practices, because core centering, they're not complex practices.
No.
They're very easy to do. Of course, we do them in a certain way that actually enhances the process of breakthroughs, releases, awarenesses, recognizing, whatever, however you want to talk about that, light bulbs. And so it almost started happening immediately, and people having like really kind of deep emotional experiences and connections with themselves of awareness.
Okay, pause there for a second because I want to say for anybody who hasn't experienced in-person work with us, sometimes, a lot of times perhaps, when you go do somatic work in person, it can be very big, dramatic, emotional releases, people crying, people screaming, tremoring, like big, 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 big. And one of the things I think that we do really well, and I experienced at this retreat in Kripalu, we experience it a lot with our in-person stuff, is this kind of gentle blooming into a transformation. And I mean, it's just really beautiful, you know? So it doesn't have to be big and scary and ugly and gut wrenching to have transformational experiences, especially with somatic work. So the evolution of the transformation for the students, they were having light bulbs and ahas and stuff. It wasn't all like, gnashing of teeth and wringing of hands. It
No
wasn't
gnashing
like
of teeth,
that.
no wringing of hands.
There was just tons of laughter and bright eyes and ideas and releasing and it looked very curious and playful and joyful and all of that stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah. So I think as far as like a takeaway or a key kind of key takeaway is just exactly what you're talking about, Ani, is one of the things that we know that transformation can kind of be like is that it can be joyful. And I think you said recently, it was either at this group or another group, but I think it applies here, is that when it comes to transformation, when it comes to deep change, we can either meet that with crying or laughing. And either one is actually necessary in order to move through that transformation.
Energy,
And that's it in a lot of ways. And either one's great, by the way, right? So we've done both. You can always pick both. It's fine. And in a retreat like this, we chose laughing.
Yeah.
We really had an intention to come through to help us move through any change processes through joyful laughter and lightheartedness, cheerful indifference. Like those are kind of a lot of the themes that we were leaning into.
Yeah. So you started talking about the importance of in-person. I'd like to say something about that because it was by far my number one takeaway from this experience. I was talking with our students this week at a bonus training for finding ideal clients that we did with our level 3 grads about how you need to make sure when you're trying to help educate people and see who you can help and find your ideal clients, that you're talking to people who are aware that there's a problem. So I've been thinking about how profound the in-person experience was and how a lot of people might not understand actually that some of the problems that they're having have anything to do with making sure that you come and do in-person experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, you could be hearing us and saying, yeah, that sounds great, but whatever, I don't know if that's for me. So if some of the things that you're dealing with look like, and go ahead and, hop on in here with my laundry list, stress, anxiety, decreased ability to really regulate your nervous system and get in that optimal window regularly, not sleeping great, not having great connected relationships, feeling stuck, feeling like you need to get energy or momentum or motivation. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I'm doing well.
Like, you need to get in person.
Yeah.
You need to get in person, and you need to do it at times that it really helps you to leverage your goals, your intentions, what you're trying to accomplish in your life, because setting yourself up, for example, at the beginning of the year or certain times during your year with an in-person experience can have a profound leverage that you might think that you're trying to solve your stress problem, for example, but the problem really is that you haven't been getting in person with people to commune, do transformational work, get in the vibrational frequency that will help you to achieve your goals, be the person you want to be. It is so profoundly important to understand that the solution that you're looking for may actually be to be in community with
Yeah.
people who are holding the vibrational frequency that you want to be in and be in that space in person together so
Yeah.
that you can get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree 100%. Agree 100%. So another huge takeaway is just a continual reminder that in person hits different than virtual.
It does.
Right. Totally
There's
different.
so much virtual, like you said, virtual is so great. Thank goodness we have it. It opens up the world to us. And let's please not forget what we knew before COVID, that we need to be as humans in person together.
It's more somatic.
Yes,
Right.
it's
It's
more
somatic.
somatic.
Yeah. Another kind of takeaway or thing that happens at the Core Centering retreat anyway, or Core Centering Practitioner program, is we're learning these tools and skills during the course of the days we're there, and then the very last morning,
Oh, it's so much
we
fun.
get together and we do like a group class, and we get in a circle, and everybody has 5 minutes to present a piece of the core centering practices.
Yeah.
And we have it organized so that kind of follows the flow and the rhythm that we've been working with during the week, and everybody has an opportunity to share. And it's always interesting. Even people who are nervous in the beginning really show up in a really strong and, again, meaningful and lighthearted way.
And everybody
And
brings
it's so
themselves
much fun.
to the practice,
Yeah.
and so it's unique to them. And when they show up and do their thing, even if they are nervous, who they are shines through, and it's really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
That's a really fun part of
It's
the
a
program. I
great
love
place, and
that.
really it kind of brings the whole training home,
Yeah.
and empowers people to really be able to get out in the world and bring these things. Because I mean, to come to a place like Kripalu, or to learn these skills at all, whether virtual or in person, is really, really important. And the most important part of it is turning around and sharing with other people,
Yeah.
because that's such an important thing. I don't know if I shared this on one of our recent conversations or not, but I was listening to a podcast recently with Richie Davidson, and who does a lot of research on meditation, and he's been around for a really, really long time. And some of the research he's shown is that it's less than 20% of people have a self-care practice.
Wow.
Less than 1 in 5 people actually do a practice like daily yoga, tai chi, qigong, mindfulness, anything like that.
Hmm.
And I'm like both shocked and not shocked, because
Yeah.
you look at the state of the world and the amount of angst and anger and frustration and all those kinds of things in the world. And then it makes sense, because most people on the planet are not practicing
Yeah.
these types of things. And so we have to find ways to lower the barrier of entry
Sure.
for people to start doing these centering practices. And so that's
Yeah.
why when
Really.
people come to do trainings with us, we've done as much as we possibly can, and we keep working on it to make it so easy to turn around and start leading practice for other people,
Yeah.
because it's so, so, so needed, obviously.
Yeah, and one of the conversations that we had at the retreat is how when you teach these things for a living, you get to do it too.
Yes.
So I don't remember. I think one of us asked a question about, like, why do you do this for a living? So that you can, do this kind of work all the time, and everybody raised their hand. I mean, to be able to, it feeds us back. It's life giving. So um, it's just like it's so awesome in that way to be able to do the things that you love to do, make a difference, but also feeds us as well
Yeah,
as
that feeds into
practitioners.
another takeaway. So one of the last things we do as a part of this training is we ask everybody, so what's going to get in your way?
Hmm.
What's going to get in your way of turning around and sharing this with other people? And one person mentioned something that commonly gets in people's ways, and it's that I don't know how to convince people to do these practices, and I feel like I can't articulate it, or they think it's weird or whatever it is.
Yeah, that comes up
And I
quite a bit.
said, yeah, I mean, I had that experience too in the past. And I remember, and I've worked with a lot of people who've had that same idea. And here's the thing. When we do our own practices, when we do our own practices and we prioritize them for ourselves, and then we no longer think they're weird. So that
Yeah.
when we know that these practices are as important as brushing our teeth, as important as drinking a glass of water, as important as eating food, like all the basic, like everyday things that we don't even think about doing, or
Yeah.
we never even question
Right.
as, when we adopt those that way for ourselves, then we never have to convince anybody to ever do it again.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
It doesn't even come up anymore.
it doesn't even come up anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't even occur to us that we have to convince people, because it's like, well, do you have to convince people to brush their teeth?
Right.
Sort of thing. You have to convince people to eat food. And it changes our whole internal perspective around bringing these things to people.
Yeah, agreed.
And so the best way to convince other people to do these things is to convince yourself. That's it. Simply said, that's how it is. And the way you convince yourself is just to practice, and then slowly start practicing in public a little bit more, where other people can see you, and then just kind of growing in that way, which is why leading a practice is so important, because then you're practicing in front of people. The more you do that, the less you really care about what other people think about what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I posted a video on social media of Nathan doing a blither,
Yeah.
shaking, and said something in the caption about how, if you could shake like a farm animal, what farm animal would you shake like? And I commented below that I shook like a chicken in the practice that we did.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was so awesome. And, figuring out that chickens actually, the last shake is right through their tails. Like that
Yeah.
was so much fun for me. So my kids have saw it because they love to follow me on social media, and they tried to get my goat about it. Like, oh, we're gonna shake like a farm animal. Oh, look at me, shake, 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 whatever. And they just wouldn't stop, but it wasn't bothering me at all. And finally, they're like they just gave up, because teenagers, they love to be a pain in the neck, and like they just couldn't get me about it.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
like, yeah, did you shake like a farm animal today? Like, try it. Have you shook like a chicken yet? Give it a shot. And
Yeah, try it. And
nothing.
chickens don't care.
They don't care.
Chickens don't care what you think about them.
And they just keep on clucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's funny.
that's just another big takeaway from it, is like when we really
Yeah.
embody our own practice, it just naturally flows from us.
Yeah.
And then any manner of ribbing, or it doesn't even matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. We just kind of keep moving on. But we're always inviting people in ways that can benefit them if they choose to.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it goes back to that, like, don't take yourself so seriously thing. You're taking yourself seriously in life when things bother you. When you're less bothered about things, it's just, you're not taking yourself seriously. Like, that's when you know that you got there, is things just don't really bug you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Didn't you say was it your goal, or that your goal was to become, you've reached something important when you become the weirdest person on your street?
Oh, yeah.
Was that
I
it?
said that a long time
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, I've said a lot of times that my goal in life is to become a crazy old lady. Like, the old lady who just does whatever the hell she wants to do, wears whatever she wants to do, and is having the best time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm well on my way to being a
Oh,
crazy
yeah,
old lady,
yeah,
Brian.
yeah. You're getting there.
Yes.
You're getting there. Awesome. Cool. So, as far as like these ideas of, these are the big takeaways from Kripalu, just to kind of summarize my thoughts around it, it's like the in-person is
Yes.
critical as much as possible. Obviously, the food and communing together over food is
Yes.
so important. It's such a
It is.
primal part of being human.
Yep.
And why I think it's so important to every retreat that we host, the food is an important part of it.
And communing
Like,
around food.
yeah, communing around.
I mean, one of the reasons why we do things like we do, and a lot of places don't, is it's important to us that we're eating together. We've really gone through hoops when we're planning events.
Yes, yeah.
To make sure that we can do that, because it would be a lot easier to just host our retreats at a hotel where everyone went off
Yes.
and got their own food. It would be easier, and less expensive, in some regards for us and
Yeah,
things
sure,
like
yeah.
that. But it's that important.
It is important. It's a key
It's
ingredient.
a foundational human experience.
Yeah, which is why it's so important.
Yeah.
So that's a key takeaway as well for us. All right. So here's a question for you, Ani, because we'd also said that this was going to be our first reset of the year.
Yes,
Remember, we said we're going to have three reset
we
experiences,
did.
and this was the first one.
Yeah.
So my question to you is
What we
was
do,
it
public accountability that we
what?
haven't talked about before. Everybody's listening. Let's
Well,
go.
well, was it successful?
For me,
Was it successful as a reset for you?
100% it was. Yeah. And again, to that, you don't sometimes know the problem you're having. I actually wasn't stressed out or anxious or feeling off or anything before we went.
Mm.
So that was great because to be able to go and not be all jacked up in my nervous system, because in the past I have been, I felt good going in and I still got a profound reset. Yes, I definitely got it. It was so good.
Was it one of the things though you felt good going in? I'm just curious. I don't know. And when you were experiencing the reset, you maybe still didn't know how wound up you might have been. You know what I'm asking?
Not
Sometimes
as
when you relax down,
then
you're
you
like, oh, I
realize
never
just
realized how
no.
wound up I was.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was the day two. You might remember I was having a lot of trouble sleeping and I was doing some tremoring in bed and stuff because it was like things were like, needing to clear and things. I had trouble sleeping day two. I had some stuff come up, just like not major body stuff, but to recognize not only was I holding, but I was also kind of buzzy
Hmm.
in my system more than I thought I was. For sure. I mean, again, that's one of the reasons why these in-person things over a few days are so powerful because you don't understand because it's the water you're swimming in where you are until you actually do start to reset and then you go, "Oh, snap. I didn't realize that I was actually a little more tense than I thought I was."
Yeah, yeah.
So for sure. And it started to happen for me day two because day one, I came in, I walked into Kripalu, I was like, yay, I'm at Kripalu. Oh, I feel so good. And then I felt so good day one and day two, I just felt a little irritated's the wrong word, agitated's the wrong word. It was a little like that. And then it kind of like washed through me and off I went into reset mode.
Yeah,
So how
yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I would also say for me, it definitely was successful as a reset, but for different indicators than I thought it might.
Hmm.
So one thing was going into the training. You know, when we're getting prepared for a training and getting organized, do we have all of our materials ready? Is the curriculum set up? Like, I mean, there's a lot of intellectual,
Yeah,
organizational, executive functioning that goes on into that.
sure.
So in my body going into it, I was having some stiffness in my back and in my body. And then about actually right after the gong wash, I had a big release in my system,
Hmm.
which was great. So I felt like I was
Yeah, you
able,
get some nice pops in your
yeah, I
back too,
got
didn't
good
you?
releases in my back that had been kind of hung up for a little bit. And so that felt like a big kind of nice release. And so I felt like, okay, so I'm definitely feeling a reset happening there because it was definitely a downshift for
Yeah.
me. But here's the other indicator. I know I had a good reset experience, not while I'm there necessarily, but when I come back,
Hmm.
and not when I come back and I'm like ready to go. Sometimes the
That's a
illusion
really
is,
good
oh, if I
point.
have a really good reset, then as soon as I get back home, I'm gonna hit the
Bam.
ground running and be able to
Yeah.
get right into it. For me, I know I have a good reset if I go into a bit of a
It was a little bit of a lull.
well
Yeah.
afterwards, like a bit of a what I call kind of a dopamine well,
Yeah.
in terms of I'm kind of like now the reset is extending into
Yeah.
the system. But not only that, but when I come home and
It wasn't like being
I'm
laid
like,
out though.
no, 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 not being laid out. But it was almost more like I came home and I was a little confused and confused by things like some things in the environment that I had left just about 4 days, 5 days,
Sure.
5 days before, and I come back into were like,
Hmm.
like why are we
Why do we
doing
do
that?
that?
Why is that set up like this? Why? And so I could tell that I had gotten out of the whole pattern
Right.
system, and it was like I was kind of like seeing things. I'm not like through fresh eyes,
Sure.
but definitely through like information just wasn't getting filed in the same way immediately. It's
Okay.
hard to kind of describe,
Yeah,
but
well,
it was kind of like illusory kind of experience that goes on after that.
and we had a few moments where we shared experiences where we're like, what is that? It was like blip, blip, blip. What? what was that? Like seeing the Matrix kind
Yeah.
of experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
A few days after the retreat.
Right,
Really
exactly. So that's how I know I had a good reset,
Yeah.
is because something happened that disrupted my default mode network.
Sure.
And so that's how, again, opportunity for change occurs. Because sometimes even as people that we think are really aware or really conscious of our patterns, we're still primarily functioning from that default mode network.
Yeah.
So that's another really important part about these resets, is it actually shakes loose those habituated ways that we filter the world. It gives us an opportunity to see something differently in a real way. And so I had that experience also. And so I know that it was a powerful reset experience because that was an indicator of it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to express it. I experienced that, but I wouldn't have been able to put it into words. I don't even think I was really aware of it to the level that you were witnessing it. So yeah, how you expressed it is spot on.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a low-level disorientation. That's not distressing.
No.
But it's really like, and if you know what's going on, then it's like, this is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because this is an opportunity actually to shift something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's cool.
So reset number 1 for the year, I would say, it sounds like both of us checks was a success.
We did it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So reset
number
2 is coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll touch base with you about that as well.
Sure.
Yep. But in the meantime, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the podcast, talking about just recapping the inside key takeaways from our in-person experience at Kripalu. And hope you gained something from that.
We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself.
Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time.